Hello, welcome to Primate Pro, and today we will start a new chapter of human physiology, that is respiration and breathing. So this is the very beginning of the class 11 physiology, and you guys are going to attempt the medical entrance exam, in which you will study about physiology whole life, and in your career, in your clinical life, human physiology will become a integral part. Okay, so we just will study about the human respiration, and as well as the respiration and respiratory organs and respiratory problems, issues that comes to life. And we'll study about the NCERT, and beyond NCERT we'll go to some medical knowledges that I will give to you, and those clinical knowledges will be very much interesting for you guys. So let's start with the lecture of today, respiration and breathing. Okay, so first give the heading: respiration and breathing. Okay, so in the introduction part, see, in the new syllabus, basically the National Medical Council has excluded human digestion, but I think digestion is an integral part of human physiology, and it is very much required for a person to get into MBBS, because when you study MBBS, how can you exclude human digestion, because it's an integral part of our system. So I'll give a brief knowledge about the human digestive system first, then I'll go to human respiration. Okay, so in introduction, see, there are three types of food. Principal components of food can be categorized into carbohydrates, protein and fats. So carbohydrates, protein and fat. Okay, so carbohydrate, proteins and fat, the food ingest, that is food we take in our daily life, food we eat, we take, food ingest passes through our alimentary canal, passes in alimentary canal. So what is alimentary canal? The digestive canal that start from our mouth and end in the anus is called the alimentary canal. Alimentary canal is divided into deglutitional part. This is the esophagus, where the peristalsis happens and the food is get the bolus. Basically the bolus is something like that, the food which you eat, and the carbohydrates gets break down due to ptyalin, and this food bolus that we degluted goes into our stomach by the peristaltic movement of the esophagus. Okay, glucose, breaks down into glucose, amino acid and fatty acids. Complex food. So the complex food that we eat are broken down into simple forms. Simple forms are glucose, amino acids are the simplest forms, and the complex food are proteins and fats. Okay, so complex food, digestion turns into simple forms so that we can easily absorb them. Okay, now the cells, the small intestine generally works as an absorbent. The villi, the small cells that are being in the small intestine generally absorbs the food and pass them through the villi, and they get mixed into the blood. So the carbohydrates, protein and fats are generally digested in the small intestine by the action of different enzymes, the proteolytic enzymes, the enzymes that comes from the pancreas in inactive form, and then gets activated by the acidic pH in the stomach. Okay, so we can write cells utilize glucose, amino acid, etc. to produce energy by utilizing oxygen. Okay, now C6H12O6 plus 6O2 goes into nascent oxygen 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus ATP. This ATP, this CO2 we exhale out this CO2. This CO2 is the CO2 that we exhale out. Okay, this is the vesicle, and this number of ATP, those are formed as 38 number of ATP. 38 ATP. Okay, now we come to the next part, that is the breathing. The breathing. Also known as respiration. Respiration can be segregated into two parts, the inspiration and the expiration, that is the inhalation and the exhalation. Inspiration is another term is called as inhalation, and the expiration is another term called as exhalation. Can be inhalation oblique inspiration, and another is exhalation, that is expiration. Okay, inhalation is intake of air. Inhalation is intake of air, and exhalation is exhaling out of air. Okay, so steps involved in the respiration are generally need to be studied. What are the steps that we generally involved in the process of respiration? Okay. So this is the nostril. I am drawing. This is the nostril. There are two nasal pores, nasal cavity. Okay, through the nasal cavity, O2 is inhaled, CO2 is exhaled. Okay, now I have to draw a simple structure, then we'll get to understand. This is a very simple structure where I can structure of alveoli, and where CO2 is exhaled out and the O2 is taken in. Okay. this is the blood stream or the blood vessel. This is the blood vessel. Here the blood goes. Okay. From here the blood is going. From here the blood is going, and the exchange of the gases are being occurred here. Okay, so from the blood which is coming from the heart, actually it is called a pulmonary circulation. The blood which is coming from the heart, that is through the which vein carries the blood, carboxylated blood, decarboxylated blood from the heart to the lungs. The pulmonary artery generally carries out the CO2 blood to the lungs, and whereas the pulmonary vein carries out the oxygenated blood to the heart. So via the two pulmonary arteries, from the two the pulmonary arteries are coming from the heart to the lungs, and they are taking pulmonary vein is taking the oxygenated blood. Two pulmonary vein are there from each of the lungs, and two pulmonary vein is taking the blood from the lungs towards the heart, that is the oxygenated blood. Okay, so in the lungs what happens, the pressure inside the, okay, I'll teach it later. Okay, now comes one, it is here breathing, pulmonary ventilation, ventilation. Two, here we write external respiration, exchange of gases, between pulmonary capillary and alveoli, occurs here. Okay, now in the third case, transport of gases occurs. Transport of gases. Here internal respiration starts. See here at number 4, internal respiration starts. O2 and CO2. So the O2 generally is from the oxygenated blood. The O2 goes to the tissues and the cells, whereas the cell gives out carboxylated blood to the veins, and they are going to the heart. So here 5 in case cellular respiration. Here cellular respiration. Utilization of O2 to produce energy. Here the O2 is utilized for energy production by the method of glycolysis. Okay, so this is the systemic capillary. This is systemic capillary. Exchange between the systemic capillary and the tissues. Here in internal respiration, what it happens here? Here, exchange between systemic capillary and tissue. Now, respiratory organs, respiratory organs. Respiratory organs, what it happens? One, the respiratory, the habitat. In water, uses gills. Bronchial respiration. This is called bronchial respiration. So the animals that lives in mainly in water, they use their gills for the respiration, and here bronchial respiration occurs. Okay, in land, that is on land, we use lungs. Uses lungs. That is called pulmonary respiration. Pulmonary respiration. In the medical term, we call lungs as pulmonology. The study of lungs is called the pulmonology. So a doctor who is treating a lungs is called a pulmonologist. Okay. Now, in case of mammals. Okay. Now we come to the level of organization. Okay. Give the heading level of organization. What is it? The cellular level of organization. The cellular level of organization is seen in phylum Porifera. That is, in bracket we call it as sponges. In tissue level of organization, phylum Colenterata. That is Nidaria. Phylum Ctenophora. Now, organ level of organization. What is our phylum Platyhelminthes? From the phylum Platyhelminthes, Now in 4, organ system. Aschelminthes, Annelida, arthropods, mollusca, that is example earthworm. The earthworm respires by the moist cuticle. So we can say moist cuticle. Okay, just drag it up so that you can write. Take the notes, because writing the notes on your own makes you read 5 to 6 times. Okay, just take the notes. It's a new YouTube channel, and probably you are thinking that it will come or not, but trust me, it will come into Neet. Okay. Sorry. Earthworm. Annelida. Earthworm is in Annelida. Earthworm takes it by moist cuticle. Okay. Now in arthropods. What are the arthropods? The insect. All insects are arthropods. Arthropods. Gills. Book gills. Book lung. Tracheal system. And in mollusca, it's gills feather-like. Gills feather-like. Okay. Now we come to echinodermata. Echinodermata taken by tube feet. Hemichordata by gills, and by chordata fish by gills. Fish gills. Amphibia gills, lungs, skin, buccal cavity, etc. Fish, amphibia. Now comes to reptiles. Reptiles, birds, mammals, all by lungs. These three by lungs. So reptiles, aves or birds, and the mammals all takes the respiration by the lungs. Okay. Now we come to human respiratory system. So this is the in brief I have given about respiration, and now we comes to the main topic, that is human respiratory system. The questions will come from this topic only. Human respiratory system. Okay, it is divided into external nostril oblique nares, then comes to nasal chamber, then it comes to internal nostrils, then there passes into pharynx, then it goes into larynx or the voice box, then it goes into trachea, then it goes into primary bronchi, that is primary bronchi. 1 degree bronchi means primary bronchi. Then it goes into secondary bronchi. then it goes into tertiary bronchi, then it goes into initial bronchiole, then it goes into terminal bronchiole, then it goes into respiratory bronchiole. This is the basically the flow chart. Okay, now comes to the external nostril. In the external nostril, see, we have two nasal cavity. So external nostril, one pair above the maxillary lip. Maxillary lip. This is the maxilla and this is the mandible. In human skeleton, the maxilla is fixed, the mandible is movable. Okay, the bone, actually call it a jaw. Okay, this is the mandible portion. This is the mandible portion. Okay, now via this comes now via nasal passage, it opens into nasal chamber. Now nasal chamber contains fine hair and mucus. The fine hair generally are used to eliminate some dust particles and outside from there, those are coming from the air, and they generally reduces the external. If the hot air is coming, they generally reduces the temperature, optimized it, and then passes it inside. And if a cold air is coming, this hair generally takes the cold air and makes a bit warmer, and they generally trap the dust and pollen and the foreign particles. So, and the mucus is nothing, it's a secretion of the frontal sinus. The frontal sinus are here, these are the maxillary sinus, here the maxillary sinuses are there, these are the frontal sinus. There the secretion comes to daily of 1 liter to 1.5 liter. The mucus secretion is generally happens, and the mucus generally comes to the nasal chamber, and through stitching tube it comes to in our mouth also. The actual function of the mucus is to trap the germs. Okay, so to the nasal chamber contains fine hair and mucus. Okay, internal nostrils are one pair. Pharynx, it is a common passage of food and air. Very, very important. Common passage for both food and air. Now comes to the larynx. It is called a voice box, made up of cartilages. One of its cartilages are epiglottis. One of the cartilage is epiglottis, which generally covers glottis, during swallowing. Now what we find that the glottis the epiglottis, in case we have to intubate a patient, that is if you have to give a patient a mechanical ventilation, so when you put an endotracheal tube, that is the tube, the laryngoscope just flaps down the epiglottis, and you can simply put the ET tube, that is the endotracheal tube, into the trachea which goes on to the fifth portion of the thoracic vertebra, where the lungs gets divided into two parts. This ET tube is kept in the junction of the fifth vertebra. So in that case, if you pull up the epiglottis like that, the ET tube will generally go to the trachea only. It will not never go to the esophagus. Okay, so here the trachea is also called as windpipe. Trachea is also called as windpipe. Windpipe. Incomplete, composed of incomplete C-shaped cartilaginous rings, incomplete dorsally at the level of fifth thoracic vertebra, the lungs, the trachea divides into primary bronchioles. Okay, so at the level of the fifth vertebra, the trachea divides. Okay, now the primary bronchi. The primary bronchi to initial bronchioles, basically this one is totally made up of cartilaginous ring. Okay, then the air is sucked inside, and see, I am drawing a structure now. I need to buy a software. Okay, please wait. Yes, okay. So by this type, by this way, the trachea is surrounded by cartilages. By this type, the trachea is surrounded by the cartilages. Here the trachea is divided into two parts. Please wait. Here the trachea, I am drawing one side, the surface. Here the trachea is divided into two parts. And is surrounded by the cartilages. Okay, these are being surrounded by the cartilages. These are surrounded by the cartilages. Okay, this is called the epiglottis. Here the flap is there, it is called epiglottis. This is the epiglottis. It is epiglottis. Epiglottis. This is the larynx. Here, larynx. Now, this is the glottis. Okay, this is the trachea. This is first degree bronchi. This is second degree bronchi. This is the third degree bronchi. And later the terminal and the respiratory. Terminal bronchi and respiratory bronchi. Okay, so till here we are ending here, and after this video, the next video will come tomorrow from the next part of the respiration. See you then tomorrow, and please subscribe the channel and please make it a success. It's up to you. Please subscribe the channel. Thank you.